Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Photoshop Elements Tutorials Group. And let's jump right in with today's poster. I wanted to know, how do we bring in photos that are small and be able to manipulate them with ease when you're cutting them out of a background? If a photo is too small, when you try to cut the image out, you're going to get really sharp lines and really fuzzy edges. So you always want to enlarge the photo from the get-go. And from my desktop, I'm going to drag in a new photo, and it just opened up its own tab up here. That's this photo here. Now look at its original size. As I zoom in, its original size is 11 inches wide by 11 inches tall. It's a square. Okay, so it's not that big of a photo. So basically what I did to enlarge it, I make the canvas bigger and then drag the photo bigger. I'm going to do that first before I show you how cutting out the picture makes a difference. So let's go ahead and first make the canvas much bigger than 11 by 11. So I'm going to go over here to Image, Resize, Canvas Size. The canvas size is going to be the background image for this particular project. Right now it's set to the size of the photo, which is 11 inches by 10.98 inches. So I'm going to change that width. Let's go with 75 inches by height. Well, I don't know, let's just say 60 inches. So I'm going to hit OK. But what happens is it makes it into a big white background. Why is that? Because I forgot to unlock the photo. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Let's go ahead and unlock the photo up here by clicking on this lock. The lock goes away. And let's go ahead and redo that. Image, resize, canvas size. Change that from 11 inches wide to 75 wide by 60 high. I'm going to hit OK. And there we go. Now we got a huge empty canvas and the photo that's still about 11 wide by almost 11 tall. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it by holding the Alt button down and dragging with the left mouse button, and that duplicates the photo. I'm going to bring this down here and make this photo really large by dragging the upper right corner. You can grab any corner to make the picture bigger. Now to help us out, I'm going to put a black background so it really distinguishes from one photo to the other. So I made an empty layer. I'm going to pick black from the color picker, grab the paint bucket, and then just click in here. That makes us a good background contrast for us to see both photos. So let's first start with the smaller photo here, and let's go ahead and zoom in, and let's go ahead and cut the subject out of her background. So I'm going to start with grabbing an eraser and make it a soft eraser, which is right around here. Here's 13 point. I'm going to make sure that I choose the correct layer, which is this little one, and then start from the corner here, and with the mouse button just start dragging down here. Now you see it's hard for me to keep a straight line because the image is so small that the mouse is actually a lot bigger than we want it to be. So I would just do something like this, maybe make the brush a little bit bigger, about 15 point, and then paint out her hair with an eraser like this. Now you see what happens is the pixels of the eraser are actually really big. So once we get it back to the shoulder, it's a little bit sharper. I'll bring the brush back down to a 7 point. Now that we cut her out with the eraser, let's use the polygon tool to get rid of the background. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and just basically trace a line around the portions that I've already cut out with the eraser. And once we get to the end, we double click and you see the marching ants. As soon as I hit delete, there goes the background. It's gone. And that leaves us just her image. I can turn off the background temporarily and you can see it's her image. But the problem with the image is as I zoom in, is you see the detail on where I cut. It's pretty jaggedy. Look at this. You can see the edges are kind of jaggedy. That's because the picture is really small. You can see these little edges here that didn't work very well. Now let's do the same thing with the larger picture. Now it's going to be a lot easier because the picture is a lot larger. Our mouse pixels are a lot smaller. So that same 7 points, if I zoom in, you see it's a little tiny dot down here. So I'm going to have to make this a lot bigger, about 25 points. But what happens is we have a lot more real estate here to work with. Once I choose the right layer, I can start erasing. And you see what happens is it comes out a lot smoother. Now to smooth out even more, I'll do shift clicking to do lines at a time. So I'll click once with the eraser, hold the shift button down, and click again down here to make a straight line. Boom. And do it again. Click it once, shift click, boom. Click it once, shift click, boom. Once, shift click, boom. And there we get a nice progression of lines. And as I zoom in, look how soft those edges are. They're much, much softer than the edges on this picture. And if I put both edges up next to each other and we zoom in, you're going to see the difference. Look at this edge down here, how soft that is. Look how jaggedy this edge on the smaller picture is. So my point is that you really want to enlarge your pictures really big to get nice fine edges. I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of this picture out so I can show you what it looks like when it's done. I'll bring the brush size to about 100 points and I can start cutting her hair out with detail. Now you see this? I have so much more control doing this by hand that it looks so much more natural simply because the photo was a lot bigger. And you can just see how much better this looks. I can turn the background off and you can see what's happening here. Once I get down to the shoulder, where it's much sharper than the hairline, I'll bring this back down to 25 point and just finish off the rest with shift clicking. I'll click, shift, click, click, shift, click, click, shift, click, click, shift, click. And you see the series of straight lines actually turns out softer and easier. Now I'll take the polygon and do as I did before. I'm going to zoom in really far so I don't have to worry about touching any of the lines that I cut out. And I'll start over here. I'm going to basically just cut out the whole background. Once I get to the end here, I'm going to match up the two pieces to start to give us the marching ants. Double click here. I'm going to zoom out and hit delete, and boom, we got us a much finer photo that's like almost 60 inches tall by wide as compared to the other one. When I zoom in to look at both edges, you'll see how much softer this edge of this hair is compared to this one. This one looks like it's missing portions, and there's other portions of the background that we see because we couldn't get so detailed as this one here. As I pan up, you can see how detailed that cut is. If I turn the background off, you can see how it's the nice soft edges. Much difference. So that's what you really want to do, is enlarge any photos that you're going to cut out. I enlarge every single project unless it's already a very large canvas, and in that case I just leave it a large canvas. But if it's a small standard photo that's like an 8 by 10, I want to blow it up to something like 50 by 50 inches. The bigger the better. There is one caveat, is you have to have a powerful computer to be able to do photos that are 50, 60, and 70 inches. So if you have a beginner's computer, it may not work so well on your computer. It may slow your computer down to a halt and not go any further. So you got to have a good, strong computer. If it isn't so strong, then don't go 50 by 50. Bring it down to, something like 25 by 25. Keep on trying until you get something that works for you and your computer. And keep on elementing out. This is Rich, calling it quits for this tutorial, saying over and out.